So in the early hours of this morning, before the Flemington Racecourse was open, somebody decided to, in the name of the environment, a associated group with Extinction Rebellion, decided to pour 1,000 litres of, quote, oily sludge onto the track. It obviously didn't disrupt things, but I wouldn't imagine it's the best way to make a point against oil. Nigel Farage, Brexit leader, the great freedom fighter, the host on GB News, joins us now from London. What a curious way to make an environmental protest, to use an oily substance, Nige.
Just goes to show that in a crisis, only fossil fuels will do. I think it's, I think, as we're learning from Germany, as they open coal-fired power stations all over Germany, and yet they'll turn up at COP27 in a couple of weeks and pretend that they're all part of the net zero agenda. No, what we're dealing with here is anarchy on the most extraordinary level. In the last week, we've had protesters spraying orange paint on car showrooms, the Bank of England, MI5. You know, it's an all-out assault, not just, by the way, on the use of fossil fuels. I mean, look at the Melbourne Cup instance, where the guy says he's doing it to stop the addiction of gambling. So whatever is uppermost in their mind, whatever moral vision they wish to impose upon the rest of us, apparently they can behave as they like. In some ways, you can't blame the poor darlings, because they've been brainwashed at school, brainwashed at university, told to bow down before the goddess Greta, the greatest physicist and scientist the world has seen since Sir Isaac Newton. And no one's told them that only 3% of global CO2 is produced by man, and that in the case of Australia and my country, the UK too, we are less than 1% of that. Nobody has told them this at any point in their lives, and this is what you get when you have a total failure of the education system. When it becomes indoctrination rather than teaching critical thinking, you get this kind of mad behaviour. Well, now, I think what government now needs to do is to be really tough on these people.
I just want to know, you know, when these people are spraying this and gluing themselves to that and pouring oil all over, are they planning to do it to the Chinese consulate in London? Will they be doing that in Melbourne? Will they be going to Beijing to make that point? Because last time I checked, you can forget about the UK, you can forget about Australia. The biggest polluter is China.
Yes, China and India this year will burn 4 billion tonnes of coal. Yep, absolutely. No, they're not. It's ludicrous. And yet, very interestingly, a pro-Hong Kong democracy protester outside the Chinese consulate in Manchester a couple of weeks ago was beaten up by Chinese security guards. Just goes to show.
It is extraordinary. Now, let's also talk about how some of the public is reacting to some of the protests that have been taking place in the UK. I love this image of people who've just said, in Europe, turning around saying, you know what, I'm not putting up with this garbage anymore. I don't trust the courts, I don't trust the police, and I'm not going to put up with it.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I completely understand why people are frustrated. I completely understand why they feel moved to physically act. There was a woman in Essex last year who sort of nudged them with her Range Rover and finished up getting a fine for doing it. But look, we don't want to live in a society where we have to resort to violence ourselves to stop anarchists. We expect
it is maddening. It really
our police forces to do this.
Yeah, sorry, Matt, I've got a slight audio issue here. I apologise. But I just want to move on here quickly to Suella Braverman, who's your new Home Secretary. She gets to come back after resigning a few days ago in a world of fun. Now, let's be honest, she's Tony Abbott in address here. I love the talk that she brought into the Parliament yesterday, because there are, as you've been documenting on your program, there are literally 40,000 illegal immigrants that have come across the Channel, and here she is ripping into it. Well done. This is great. Have a look.
The British people deserve to know which party is serious about stopping the invasion on our southern coast and which party is not. This is a global migration crisis. We have seen an unprecedented number of attempts to illegally cross the Channel in small boats. Some 40,000 people have crossed this year alone, more than double the number of arrivals by the same point last year. Not only is it unnecessary, because many have come from another safe country, it is lethally dangerous.
Nigel, I like this, I really do. But are there going to be any actions behind this talk?
Well, interestingly, she also went on to call it an invasion. She also went on to say that many of those that come are not genuine refugees, but people gaming the system. It was Farage-East language being used in Parliament, and the condemnation that we're getting from mainstream media, from Sadiq Khan, from politicians is extraordinary. There can't be an issue on which Westminster and the media are more out of touch with the British public than this particular issue. I've been pushing this every day for the last 2 years. At last, a senior figure in British government is standing up and saying the right thing. And do you know what? As I get older in life, it's really nice to have a new pin-up girl. It really is.
And maybe she's one of these people that you're going to need for the quiet revolution, or maybe the not so quiet revolution we might see in a couple of years' time. Wait, watch and see. All right, last one here. So Prince Harry, we must pause for a moment. We must change our demeanour because he is a victim. He is a victim who has multi-million dollars, and he's a victim who, of course, is going to write a book called Spare, because that's what he thinks his life's about, a life of service, a life of privilege, but he's the spare one.
Yeah, it's all desperately sad, and if you believe the gossipy reports we're getting, there are elements of the book and elements of the Netflix film that he now wants to tone down. What is clear is that Meghan wants to destroy the royal family. That is absolutely clear, and laughing boy Harry has been going along with it and is now beginning, I think, since the Queen's funeral, to regret it. In the end, it isn't the monarchy they're damaging, it's themselves. They will finish up utterly, entirely friendless and with nobody being interested in what they have to say.
We love you, mate. Nigel Farage, thank you very much. The great host on GB News, great freedom fighter, and we love talking to him exclusively here on Paul Murray Live. Thank you, mate.